Part 2. So we can establish Molosser breeds do not have pinched nostrils, poppy eyes, and excessive dewlaps on the face. It's only around the throat, and most Molosser dogs or descendants of Molosser dogs either have a wedge head, because some Molossers can have wedge heads, or those are the lighter bone ones, or the heavier bone ones will have a bear-like head expression. So with that being said, time is progressing. And so now you'll see certain enthusiasts show these dogs that are Bordeaux crosses to be the Mastino, and they'll call them such. And Italy is starting to favor those dogs. So now the world wars happen, and breeders are still, after the world wars, are breeding dogs, and they're having us, this is what happened. A lot of breeders had Corsos, the traditional Corsos, and some had the watchdog type of style dogs, the dogs with the SS dewlaps. It wasn't horrendous back then, but as time is progressing, the Bordeaux also went through a facelift. The Bordeaux began to look more and more of a bulldog, with the SS skin coming off the face, and they still was importing these dogs over, breeding them. Not saying that publicly, or not even writing it down, but they were breeding, and it's evident. Now, the Corso is a Molosser dog. And some people will argue that and say, no, it's not, it's an Alliance. For argument's sake, let's talk about Alliance for briefly. Research where Alliance came from, right? Because I'm not saying that Alliance weren't in Italy. Some did manage to get there, but on the aspect of hounds, sight hounds. Because also too, Alliance made hounds. Research. Alliance made hounds. So the hounds were there, or the thinner, lighter build dogs that were used in war back in the day, because now we got to go back, take it a tidbit back. The Empress Molosser. The Romans decided to call the Empress the Penaces. The Penaces came in two coat types, just like in all Molosser breeds. You're going to see two coat types. There's going to be a short coat type, and it's going to be a long coat type. In Italy, the short coat type became your Corsos, your Mastino, which is the same dogs. The long coat types became your Maramers, your Sicilian sheepdog type, those type dogs. Still in all, these dogs still carry the characteristics and traits of the Molosser dogs. Alliance come short-coated. They don't come in two-coat varieties. They come in a short coat. Again, Alliance had cleaner faces before the pug was introduced to them. So it was a cleaner faced dog, looked very houndy, very fast. But the Molosser was bred into it, so it can you still made a coursing dog, but a coursing dog that would be effective of bringing down prey effectively and being fast enough to run it down. So with that being said, or to keep up with the horses, because again, a lot of the sight hounds were lightweight. So not saying they can't catch a deer or a hog, but it'd be very hard for the dogs to subdue the quarry. So the Molosser dogs had to be bred into those dogs, the heavier set Molossers, because Molossers came in, like I said, the two coat types, but also in two types of thin build and being a big, massive dog. A lot of historians don't say that. But from my research, this is to be the actual facts. So, with that being said, right, the Empress, because the Greek people migrated into Rome before Rome became a superpower. They settled in Rome. They built up statues, mausoleums, and etc. Sicily and also on Sardinia. Before that, the Greek people, before their civilization, those people migrated from Central Asia and Syria, which they also had the Molossus dog, and the Molossus dog migrated from there, from Central Asia and all them places, to Greece, and from Greece, from Rome, and then into Europe. Also, the Phoenicians bred these type of dogs. The Alans. It's an extensive history, but you get the gist when you start researching and studying. So now, coming back to modern day times, there was a variety of these dogs in Italy, and still breeders were still importing the French Bordeaux, which changed. It looks like more of a bulldog, and started breeding those type of dogs into the Corsos. And of course, the Corsos started taking that type of look, and that stuff was selected in dog shows, because now the Italians wanted to be like other European countries, which was their mistake. Which was their mistake? They should have kept the neo-traditional, which was a Corso at the time. It was a rustic Corso. They should have kept it that way. They didn't do so. Not a lot of knowledge was being known about the dogs. Give you a little tidbit with Pario Scanzi and his situation. The people of Naples wanted the dogs to be called Neapolitan Masters. So that's how the Neo got its name. That happened in 1940 something, late 40s. And the dogs started being showcased, and you can clearly see the earlier Neapolitan Masters were Corsos. They're Corsos. You can see it. So, like I said, with that being said, you can also see the change of those dogs that had a little bit more of the dewlaps in the face. They started getting more and more over-exaggerated, more bulldog-like. And you start seeing it 60s, the 70s, because now the standard changes again in the 60s. There's a dog named Leon, and then from Leon it became Argo. That, the breeders were selecting dogs to look like that type. And so now breeders that had the traditional dogs started breeding away from those traditional those traditional dogs that look like Corsos, and to this more modern day Neo style. And other breeds were added into the dog as well. That's another topic for another discussion. But in Dietrich's book, Dietrich said that Italy is a mysterious place. A lot of breeders didn't do the right thing. They didn't keep the dogs pure, so they bred other elements into the dogs, which altered and changed the dogs. But still in all, dogs were still producing, even 70s, 80s, and 90s. They were still, some Neos would still produce Corsos. A cleaner faced dog, lighter bill, and those, them dogs didn't sell. Breeders would sell those dogs for $300, maybe $5. And some of those dogs went into band dog programs here, I'm saying in the United States. So, with that being said, but again, the dog, you can see it. Go look at a video called Dogs That Protect, and that Neo segment, because he didn't have overly exaggerated Neos. Not saying them dogs didn't exist, the over-exaggerated ones, but even in Mike Satili's Senior's, his first program of him breeding the dogs in the 70s, the dogs didn't look the same how they did in the late 80s and 90s. They started getting really over-exaggerated. More and more of the bulldog look. So now we get to the aspect of the DNA. Yeah, the DNA is going to show the dogs being slightly different, because even in the Corso, it totally went left. Let me explain what I'm talking about.